big hit is because, I mean, supporting cap and trade in a time where small businesses can barely stay open, it doesn't make sense to tax your businesses and your homeowners on energy at a time where we're all struggling so much. It doesn't make sense, like he partnered with Congressman Barrett, to support the bailout of Wall Street with no accountability. It doesn't make sense to support stimulus packages in a time where we've got to learn to live within our own means and make sure that we prioritize how we spend and we become more independent ourselves as a state. You know, this is where I go back to saying it's not about electing Republicans, it's about electing conservatives. And conservative values mean understanding the value of a dollar and understanding the fact that you don't touch small businesses. They're the ones that you strengthen and you lift up. You don't go and raise taxes. We don't believe in bailouts. We don't believe in anything from Washington. We need to turn around and understand we live within our means. We make sure we put our spending online. We make sure we have income disclosures on our legislators. We make sure that we learn to turn around and have spending caps in government so that we don't overspend. And we make sure that we have term limits in this state, and we need to move towards having term limits in this country so we don't have elected officials that continue to spend and forget exactly who it is that's paying for it.
Mr. Attorney General, the American Conservative Union would rank Senator Graham as the 15th most conservative member of the Senate. And yet back here at home, you wouldn't necessarily know it by reading some of the things that have been said about him. What's your view on this entire take of the split within the Republican Party?
There is no split in the Republican Party. Whenever we are growing, and this comes from someone who served as state party chairman for 9 years, and that's an unpaid job, by the way. Whenever we're growing and getting stronger, we have these kind of conversations. And when I was party chairman, we took a majority in the House in 1994. We took the majority in the Senate in 2000. And along the way, we won 8 of the 9 constitutional offices. We could win all of them this year. But we are not the enemy. These are growing pains for the Republican Party, and I've seen it before. The real enemy, the challenge, is the Obama administration and things that are coming out of Washington. They are taking us off the cliff. I don't know if financially, I don't know how long it's going to take us to recover from this pile, this mountain of debt that's being criticized even by the Chinese and by Standard & Poor's and the other rating agencies. Don't know if we're going to be able to make it. So I say come on in. Anyone who wants to share this conservative mantle, the Republican Party is open to you, and that includes the Tea Partiers and anybody else who believes in free enterprise, the sovereignty of this state, and the liberty of these people.
Thank you, sir. Congressman Barrett, you were up there in Washington, D.C. You have a first-hand glimpse of how this works. Did you applaud Senator Graham for reaching across the aisle and working on this piece of legislation?
You know, somebody asked me in one of the earlier debates, Mark, am I a Jim DeMint Republican or am I a Lindsey Graham Republican? Well, my answer is I'm a Gresham Barrett Republican. Listen, I love both of those guys, but do I always agree with them? Absolutely not. And cap and trade with Lindsey, unfortunately, is one area that I disagree with him on. I think it will cost, and don't take my word for it, take the co-op's words for it, or the power companies, 1,700 jobs, 17,000 jobs in South Carolina, and add about $1,400 per year to the average family's power bill. But does that mean that we shouldn't reach across the aisle? Absolutely not. If it's conservative principles, if it's our core issues, absolutely. I think we need to work together. But unfortunately, in Washington, D.C., we're headed down the wrong area. Listen, I voted against Obamacare because it's a government takeover of health care. I voted against the Obama stimulus because that's not the way you grow the economy. I voted against the automobile bailout because we need to change business and industry here in South Carolina. Listen, I've been a congressman for the last 7.5 years, and I can tell you that the answers to this nation's problems are not in Washington, D.C. They're right here in our backyard, and it starts in South Carolina.
Thank you very much, sir. The next question will go to Representative Haley. This subject was brought up earlier, poverty, and especially the working poor here in South Carolina. This is something that I've had firsthand experience with going around the state, talking to people who are out there working, sometimes minimum wage jobs. And if you look at 2 parents who are both out there making minimum wage, working 51 weeks out of the year, they take home less than $28,000 a year. As a household of 4, that's about 125% of the federal poverty line. I guess I'm curious as to whether or not you oppose any type of federal assistance or state assistance to these types of families, and how do we attack the kind of pervasive poverty that we see in our state here today?
You know, the interesting thing is our founding fathers said it should be families first, then communities, then state, then federal. And we've seen that turn totally upside down. There was a time where we took care of our neighbor. If someone's house burned down, it didn't matter who they were, you went and you took care of them. If someone had a problem or lost their job, all the churches stepped up and everybody tried to help them. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to what it was like to take care of your community. I grew up in rural Bamberg, and everyone took care of everyone else. If my parents saw someone's child on the corner, she'd pick them up and she'd take them to their house. It didn't matter who they were. You just took care of each other. And so what I think we need to do is go back to where our communities and churches get involved in helping the poverty, helping the poor, helping anyone in need of assistance. And we need to do that through also partnering with our businesses. We need to get job shadowing in schools. We need to get mentoring. We need to allow the churches to do after-school programs. There are ways our communities can get involved so that we don't have to be dependent on government assistance, so that we can bring our communities back in, because our people in South Carolina want to help. They just need to know how. But I do need to say, again, with all due respect to my friend Congressman Barrett, when you talk about conservative principles aren't voting for a Wall Street bailout. Conservative principles are not co-sponsoring a value-added tax. So when we're talking about conservative principles, we need to make sure that that's the focus on how you spend a dollar. It's not about being conservative some of the time. It's about being conservative all the time.
The Wall Street bailout bill was signed by President Bush.
And that's the other thing, is that all of that happened on the Republican watch,
Right.
and we need to remember that.
Attorney General McMaster, your view on poverty, sir. Would you be opposed to any public aid and assistance in this time?
And I would say the Republicans paid a great price in 2006 for acting like liberals and acting like Democrats. That's when we lost the House and the Senate. We need to stick with our Republican principles. As for poverty, the best poverty program is a job. That's the answer. And that is the first thing that we must do. As governor, what I want to do is lead the great people of this state, whom I admire, whom I'm proud of, whom I'll never apologize for. You never hear me apologizing about South Carolina. I'm proud of it. But I want to lead us towards that, down that road to prosperity. And I'm the one who has the executive experience, 4 years as U.S. Attorney, 8 years as Attorney General, getting things done, making promises, and keeping them. I have the maturity, the judgment, experience, and credibility to get things done. I want to implement my strategic plan that has as its goal making South Carolina the most business-friendly, the most prosperous state in the country. And I think we have all the tools, the people, and assets that we need. What we need is collaboration, coordination, a vision, and leadership, and I want to provide it.
Thank you, sir. Congressman Barrett, your view on this particular topic, sir.
Well, first of all, let me answer the personal attack. Listen, I'm the second most conservative member of the United States Congress. I'm the only member of the congressional delegation that's received the American Taxpayer Award for the last 7 years. I'm a defender of freedom. I've got an A rating with the NRA. I've got a 100% pro-life. I'm very proud of my conservative credentials. But, you know, leaders have to lead, and we don't have the luxury of looking back 6 months or a year before we comment on situations. We make the best decisions that we can with the information available. Now, having said that, if we're going to address poverty in South Carolina, we do it through infrastructure. We bring roads and bridges and water and sewer to areas that are depressed so we can have jobs. The best thing the government can help somebody with is a good job. It also is education. No child should leave the third grade that is not at or above third grade reading level. We can fix that in South Carolina, but to do that, we have to streamline the process and make sure those dollars make it into the classroom.
Thank you very much, Congressman. Lieutenant Governor?
I've actually been one of those working poor. I've been one that came from a single-family home. I've seen the struggles because I've personally dealt with them. I've done some of those labor jobs where it was tough to make the numbers work. I worked my way through college. I understand it. But government is not the cure-all. Faith-based organizations, families, friends, communities, neighbors. That's why I formed a foundation, and we try to help people out that need some help. That's best done within communities, not big brother government. And we are creating a mindset whereby the government is going to take care of your every want and need. And that is not what made this the greatest country in the world. And I think we've got to get back to that. The Congressman's right. Clearly, we need to do more for educational opportunities for everyone in South Carolina, poor districts especially. Clearly, we need to do, whoever the next governor is, needs to do a great job of bringing new opportunities to South Carolinians, not only for new businesses coming, but trying to help businesses that are currently here expand and employ new people. And that's how we'll get South Carolina back to work and get them out of this poverty state, but not the government continuing to give handouts.
Thank you very much, sir. We only have about 2.5 minutes left, so for these next responses, if you could keep them to 30 seconds. I made this light on purpose, but I want it to be a little bit of a window into who you are. The most influential person that shapes your approach to public life, and I'm not talking about a historical figure or something abstract, but something deeply personal to you. Mr. McMaster?
Oh, that'd be my daddy. He's 96 years old. He is the oldest, he's the senior practicing attorney in South Carolina.